Good morning. This lesson is for my Trig-Precalc class, but before I get started, I want to say I hope that everyone's doing all right out there. This is going to be titled Chapter 6 Practice Test, and that's going to be our goal as well, to go over the Chapter 6 Practice Test, and our directions for the 5 problems are to solve each triangle and find its area. So let me give you a little insight into this test. You're going to have one of each of the triangle patterns. Angle, angle, side, angle, side, angle, angle, side, 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 angle, side, and side, side, side. And you're going to calculate the area of each one. So we're going to need to solve each one, and that, that'll show me that you've basically got the ideas down for Chapter 6. So let's go ahead and just jump right into this. Now, a disclaimer: the order of the actual test the triangle patterns will be different. So don't memorize it and say, oh, problem 1 is angle, side, angle. Problem 2 is side, side, side. Problem 3 is side, angle, side. No, it's going to get mixed up. Okay, but just know how to solve each of these. And again, it's angle, side, angle, 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 side, angle, side, side. We just do law of sines. The other two, side, angle, side, and side, 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 we use law of cosines to get to angle, side, side, and then finish with law of sines. All right. Enough talking, let's just do some solving. All right, so here this pattern is an angle, side, and angle. So I can actually find the third angle quite nicely because I know 2. And so the measure of angle C, let's see, I got 137 and 20, that takes me to 157. That means that I need 23 degrees more to get to my 180. Since it's an angle, side, angle, it's law of sines. So let's set that up. My sine of angle A, which is 137 degrees, divided by its opposite length, which is length A, will be equal to the sine of angle B, which is 20 degrees, divided by its opposite length, which is B, and the sine of angle C, which is 23 degrees, divided by its opposite length, which is 9. I have 2 equations that I can solve. I can cover this up and solve that, and I can cover this up and solve that. So this is a pretty straightforward problem. Let's find the measure of, or the length of angle A. So I have sine of 137 divided by A equals the sine of 23 divided by 9. Let's go ahead and eliminate the denominator by multiplying everybody by the denominators. So A times 9 and A times 9. Let's cancel what we can. On the left side, the A's cancel, and on the right side, the 9's cancel. So now we're left with A times sine of 137 equals sine 23 times, it's not A, it's 9, sorry, times A. Okay, let's go ahead and divide away the sine of 23 to both sides. And that means that the length of A is equal to 9 times the sine of 137 divided by the sine of 23. It's a terrible 3. All right, so let me go ahead and calculate that here. Make sure your calculator is set to degrees. So 9 times sine of 137. Oh, let me clear that. 9 times sine of 137. Close that parenthesis and divide it by sine of 23. 15.70, which is 15.7. So the length of A is 15.7. Let's find the length of C. Now, the length of B, because A and B are in the same position, you can use the steps that we did to realize that it's going to be 9 times sine of 20 divided by sine of 23 is equal to b. Alright, but you can go through the steps. We'll get to the same point. So let's see here. What did I say it was? It's going to be b equals sine of 20 times 9 divided by sine of 23. Let's put that in our calculator machine. Make sure you close those parentheses. That's 7.87, which rounds to 7.9. So I solved that triangle. Now I need to find the area. Now remember, area is 1/2 the length times 1/2 times length B times length C times sine of A. All right, so area sine of A. Okay, so it's going to be 1/2, which is 0.5. Let's find the area for this thing. So 0.5 times B, which is 7.9, times C, which is 9. Email times sine of my angle A, which is 137. So the area, the number of squares it takes to cover this triangle is 24.24. So it'll be roughly 24.2. All right, so that's what I'm looking for problem 1 or for the angle side angle pattern. Problem 2, we have a side 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 pattern. All right, and the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename it. All right, and I need to find an angle measure, so I have to use the law of cosines. So it's cosine of A. Let's see, it's cosine of A is equal to, what is that equal to? Cosine of A is equal to negative A squared plus B squared plus C squared divided by 2BC. All right. But because I'm finding an angle, remember we have to do the second function, right? Doing the inverse function. So remember you need a parenthesis around the numerator. And you need a parenthesis around the entire denominator. And that needs to be a negative sign, not a minus sign. All right, so let's find that angle A. Okay, clear, exit. Okay. So second cosine, parenthesis, negative sign, 13 squared plus 16 squared plus 9 squared. Parenthesis, divide that by 2 times 16 times 9. Go ahead and put a parenthesis around the whole denominator. It's going to mess it up. 2 times 16 times 9, parenthesis, close the whole parenthesis, enter. The measure of angle A is 54.31 degrees. So the measure of angle A is 54.3 degrees. All right, now we can get into the law of sines, right? And I have now the sine of angle, I know A, the sine of A, which is 54.3 degrees, divided by its length, which is 13, and that's equal to the sine of angle B, which I do not know, divided by its length, which is 16, and that's equal to the sine of angle C, divided by its length, which is 9. And if I find one of these angles, I can find the other one using the same idea I did right here. So let's go ahead and solve for the measure of angle B. So the sine of 54.3 divided by 13 equals the sine of angle B divided by 16. I just need to get this guy by itself. Now, over here, I knew that I needed to multiply everybody by the denominators because my unknown was in the denominator. Okay? On this one, my unknown's in the numerator, so I just need to move away that denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 16. Those cancel, and 16 times the sine of 54.3 divided by 13, that's equal to my sine of B. Now remember, when we're finding an angle, again, we have to use the inverse function. Alright, so sine of B. I know that it will be a little bit larger than angle A because its opposite side is a little bit longer, so it has to open up more to make that work. So let's see here. So second sine of 16 times sine of 54.3, close that parentheses, divide that by 13. Oh no, divide that by 13. Close it up, and I get 88.16, which becomes 88.2. So the sine of B is 88.2. Alright, I'm gonna use a calculator. I haven't had my coffee this morning, so I'm not going to even attempt adding decimals this morning. Which means the measure of angle C is 37.5 degrees. All right, let's go ahead and find the area. Again, the triangle solved. And remember, we went law of cosines and then law of sines. All right. So again, the area is equal to 1/2 times the length of B times the length of C times the sine of angle A. All right, so the area of this guy is going to be sine, clear. It's going to be 0.5 times the length of B, which is 16, times the length of C, which is 9, times the sine of angle A. So times sine of 54.3 degrees, and that is, it takes 58.47, which rounds to 58.5 little squares to cover that. I forgot the number, still early. 58.5 squares. The area is 58. Make sure I know where the answers are. There's a lot going on. Let me see how much space I have on this problem. Oh man, this is a lot of work. This is taking a while. I apologize for the length of this, but I'm sure this will help some of us with these problems, or at least check our answers and see how we did. Problem 3 is a side angle side problem. Okay, and again, I'm going to rename it. I want to name my angle that I know as angle A. I'm going to call this one length, or angle C, and this is my angle B, which makes that length B and that length C. All right, so we have to use the law of cosines, which says that the length of A is equal to the square root of B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times the cosine of angle A. All right, so let me calculate that. So I need the square root of 12 squared plus 13.1 squared minus 2 times 12 times 13.1 times cosine of 53. And A is 11.24, which rounds to 11.2. Okay, so now we can, now we're into the law of sines, and let's write that out here. So I have sine of my angle A, which is 53 degrees. Divide that by its opposite length. And that's equal to the sine of angle B, which I do not know its measure, divided by its opposite length. And that's equal to the sine of angle C, which I do not know, divided by its opposite length. So again, I have an equation right here. These two are probably pretty close in measure since their lengths are close. So sine of 53 divided by 11.2 equals sine of angle B divided by 12. Multiply away the 12. The 12's cancel. 12 times the sine of 53 divided by 11.2 is equal to my sine of angle B. Let's go ahead and figure out what that measure is. So second sine, clear. 12 times, nope, that was right, clear. Second sine of 12 times sine of 53, close that parenthesis, divide that by 11.2. And my measure of angle B is 58.83. Which rounds to 58.8. So now I can find the measure of angle C using the other two angles. And again, it's too early for me to even think about attempting to figure out that this adds to 111.8 and then take that away from 180, which would be 68.2. But let me see. All right, so the measure angle C is 68.2. Now we can find the area, and again, area, and I don't want to go too far over, so area equals 1/2 times B times C times sine of angle A. I keep wanting to put cosine, but sine. I'm visualizing the opposite height length, and that's sine. All right. So it's 0.5 times B, which is 12, times C, which is 13.1, times the sine of 53 degrees. And that means it takes 62.77 little squares to cover this, or 67 point. I'm just forgetting things. 62.78 little squares. 62.78. All right, 62.8. That's my area. So let me, hopefully this helps with some of this. Let me clean this up, come back, do problem 4 and 5, and wrap this up. I do apologize that it's taking a little longer to work through these problems than I hoped, but I'm sure this will help you nonetheless. So let me clean this up, and I'll be back. I'm back, so let's go ahead and finish problems 4 and 5 on this practice test. Problem 4 is an angle-side pattern, which means that in order to solve, we're going to use law of sines. And I can also find the third angle measure without doing any difficult equations, because again, the three angles add to 180 degrees. So these two angles together add to 115, which means the remaining angle must be 65 degrees. I'm also going to rename the triangle. And it doesn't matter which order you rename it in this one. So that makes this B, that makes this A, and that makes that C. Alright, so now I can do my law of sines and solve this triangle. I'm going to have to calculate two lengths, but once I go through the steps to find one length, I can use the result to find the other length, meaning I don't have to show the work to set up the equation to find that, and then I will calculate my area. So here I have the sine of 65 degrees, which is angle A, divided by its length, which I don't know, equal to the sine of B, which is 69 degrees, divided by its opposite length, which is 7, and the sine of angle C, which is 46 degrees, divided by its opposite length, which I do not know. I can solve that equation, and I can solve that equation. So let's find the length of A first. All right. So I have the sine of 65 degrees divided by A equals to the sine of 69 degrees divided by 7. All right. So I mentioned previously I had to multiply everyone by the denominator because my unknown is in the denominator. So let's multiply everybody by the denominator. So A times 7, A times 7, and on the left the A's cancel, and on the right the 7's cancel, and I'm left now with 7 times sine of 65 equals sine of 69 times A. Let's divide away the sine of 69. And that means that the length A is equal to 7 times the sine of 65 divided by the sine of 69. So let me calculate that length A. I'm sorry I got a little bit sloppy without writing there. Okay. So 7 times sine of 65, close that parenthesis, divide that by the sine of 69. Close that parenthesis, and that equals 6.79, which means that the length of A is going to round to 7. Wait, 6.79 means it's going to round to 6.8. So, when I'm going to solve these equations, notice that what is it? It's going to be 7 times sine of 46 divided by sine of 69 is equal to C. If we were to go through all the steps, you can solve it if you like, but you can also use a result to help you get to this. And this value will be let's see here. 7 times, what am I doing? 7 times sine of 46. Divide that by sine of 69. Which means that the length of side C is 5.39, which rounds to 5.4. Okay, so now that I've solved it, I can now find the area. And again, area equals 1/2, not base, but length B times length C times the sine of angle A. All right, so let's plug that in. So it's 1/2, 7 times 5.4 times sine of 65. All right. So 0.5 times 7 times 5.4 times sine of 65, and that is 17.12 or 17.1. It takes 17.1 little squares to cover that triangle. All right, last problem is an angle side-side. And since it's angle side-side, I can get away with using the law of sines. So I'm just going to make sure that I know that this is my length A, This is my length C, this is my length B, and let's just go ahead and set it up. In this test, there's not going to be any unsolvable triangles, and I hope that's the case for this example because I really don't want to have to reissue another practice test and then redo a whole nother lesson. All right, anyways, here we go. We have the sine of angle A, which I do not know, divided by its opposite length, which is 5, and that's equal to the sine of angle B, which I do know, which is 104 degrees, divided by its opposite length, which is 14. And I have the sine of angle C, divided by, which I don't know, divided by its opposite length, which I don't know. I can solve that equation for angle A. I cannot solve that equation for angle C or length C because there's two unknowns. So I have to find that first, which will allow me to find that, which will allow me to find that. All right, so let's find the length, or the measure of angle A. So sine of angle A divided by 5 equals sine of 104 divided by 14. I just need to multiply both sides by 5 because that'll isolate sine of A. So that cancels out. Sine of angle A equals sine of 104 divided by 14 times 5. All right, so let's find the measure of angle A. And again, because it's an angle, we need the inverse function. Let me do that here. So second sine of 104, close that parenthesis, times 5, divide that by 14, not 4. That would change some things, wouldn't it? Divide that by 14. I can put a lid back on the pen. There you go. There you go. All right, and that means that that angle measure is 20.27, which rounds to 20.3. So that means that we have 124.7. So we need, oh gosh, 124.7. So we need 52 point, I don't know. I'm not even going to try. I'm trying to think and nothing's happening sometimes. That's what happens when you get older. All right, 55.7. So measure of angle C is 55.7. And I can plug that in here now. Which means I have to find my unknown length, and because my unknown is in the denominator, I have to multiply everybody by the denominator. So I have sine of 104 divided by 14 equals the sine of 55.7 divided by C, multiply both sides by 14 in C. The 14's cancel out, so now I'm left with C times sine of 104, and that's equal to the sine of 55.7 times, oh, those cancel, times 14. Let's get that C by itself, so we divide away the sine of 104. And the length of C is equal to the sine of 55, I can't write, 55.7 times 14 divided by sine of 104. All right, a couple more clicks of a button and we're done with this whole practice test. All right, so the length of side C, and as I'm working through this, I'm like, gosh, I'm gonna have a big test to grade, but that's okay. So sine of 55.7, close that parenthesis, times that by 14, and divide the whole thing by sine of 104. So the length of side C is 11.91, which rounds to 11.9. All right. And again, please mark the measurements in the triangle. That'll be helpful for me when I'm grading this and looking for answers. And finally, the area, and it's 1/2 the length B times the length C times the sine of A. So it's 1/2 0.5 times the length B, email times the length B times the length C. So it's 0.5 times 14 times 11.9 times the length, or times sine of 20.3. And that means that we have an area of 28.89 or 28.9. It takes 28.9 little squares to cover that triangle. Alright, so hopefully this answers any questions that you might have had or got stuck on. Again, the order of this is going to move around, but the ideas will be there, one of each type of triangle. So again, angle, angle, side, angle, side, angle, angle, side, side, law of sines. Begins with an A, law of sines. Side, angle, side, or side, 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 begins with an S, law of cosines. And then once you find a side or an angle for law of cosines, jump back to law of sines and you should be able to solve it. And again, I hope this answers any questions or confusions that we might have. So I'm going to end it here. Again, I hope everyone is doing all right out there. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.